In this video, I'm going to be ranking every popular cold email infrastructure. Everything from public infrastructure to private infrastructure to resellers and absolutely everything in between. Okay, so let's get into it. Now, first and foremost, I want to go over the types of categories. So to begin with, you have the I use this. So this is pretty self-explanatory. These are the infrastructures that we actually currently use in the agency. Okay, now I have used this is infrastructures that I've used prior to the infrastructures I use now, and I stopped using them for whatever reason it might be. Okay, I might use this as something that I'm going to consider testing, but of course, that's not something that I'm using right now. I wouldn't use this as something that I just personally wouldn't use for one reason or another, and I wouldn't recommend anyone use it as something that I just know won't work for you or I know isn't good, and I wouldn't recommend anyone doing it. Okay, so let's get into it. Now, first and foremost, Hypertide. This is one of the bigger providers in the space right now. I am going to go ahead and put Hypertide in I might use this, and reason why it's there is because I actually did try to book a call with their team. For some reason, the founder ended up just canceling the call on me and then asking me to reschedule, and he never got back to me. So typically when things like this happen, I don't necessarily give them another chance, especially if there's not like a reason behind it. If someone just cancels on me and doesn't even have like a reason behind it, then typically I'm not going to go and actually like entertain trying to talk to this person. So I'm not really sure what happened to that. I have heard a lot of good things about Hypertide from other people. I've never used it myself, and to be honest, I'm not too too keen on using it. It is a private infrastructure. We have good deliverability the way things are now. So that's why I'm gonna put it in the I might use this category, purely because I tried to use them, but they didn't come to the sales call. Okay. Then the next provider is going to be Infra Inbox. Now, Infra Inbox is something that we currently use in the agency. This is an Outlook reseller, which we just recently started using. I will be honest, we haven't been using them for a while. One of the big benefits of them is they are partnered with SmartLead, so you can trust that they're a reputable provider. And if you want to go down that route, you can actually buy their inboxes directly through SmartLead. They have a native integration, right? So it's very, very helpful. I would put them at the I use this category just because they are pretty helpful. Okay. Now I'm going to link this provider and all the other providers below. So if you want to try out any of them, then, feel free, you can. Okay. Then is going to be Google. Now, Google, I'm going to go ahead and put into I have used this. Now, what I mean by Google is I obviously don't just mean Google overall. I mean specifically buying email accounts directly from Google themselves, like the ones that are actually $7.20 a piece. That's what I mean when I say Google. Now, the reason why I put this in I have used this is because there was a stage in our company when we did actually buy email accounts directly from Google. And at that time, I was under the impression that it would be the best deliverability. Now, to this day, I still do believe that the most reliable way of doing cold email is definitely buying directly from Google. But reliable isn't necessarily the best results, because you can go ahead and go something like a reseller, right? Like an email account reseller, which we'll touch on in a little bit, and get more accounts that are still the same US-based enterprise Google accounts for a lot cheaper and end up getting a lot better results for pretty much the same money. Okay, because one Google account is about $7 and a reseller account's $2, meaning for every Google account, you can get 3.5 reseller accounts, which of course starts to add up very, very quickly. Okay, so that's why I put Google at I haven't used this. Next is going to be Inbox Automate. Now, Inbox Automate, for those of you who are unfamiliar, is a Google account reseller. Now, I have a bit of a history using with them because they actually used to resell Outlook accounts, and that's what we used to use them for. When we were using Inbox Automate for Outlook accounts, they were actually a pretty decent provider, right? The only thing with Inbox Automate was their support team. Again, for some reason, there's like this recurring occurrence of really bad support in the world of cold email infrastructure. I don't know what it is, but it's just like a consistent recurring occurrence. And that's kind of why I would put Inbox Automate into I wouldn't use it, just because I did book a call with their founder. We both agreed to have a discussion about how we could potentially work together. He ended up no-showing on me, then ghosting me, and then we had a problem with our accounts and we couldn't get in contact. So I honestly was a little bit upset about their interaction, so I wouldn't recommend using them whatsoever, especially considering now they only sell Google inboxes, and they sell Google inboxes for very, very expensive. It doesn't really make sense, right? So that's my rant. I would put them at the I wouldn't use it category. Okay. Now is I use this for cheap inboxes 100%. Cheap inboxes is pretty much where we have like, I think 60% of our infrastructure right now. They are a Google reseller. We're actually partnered with them in Lead Academy. So for any of you guys watching this, if any of you guys are Lead Academy members, you know that you get cheap inboxes for $1.95 per Google inbox. And these are all US-based enterprise Google accounts, highest quality accounts in the market. Hey guys, we're going to get right back to the video in just a minute. But real quick, do you want a done-for-you cold email lead generation solution that is able to consistently book you meetings with your ideal buyers? We just helped Morty from Your Business Now book over 30 clients in just 2 months of working together. And Avi from Daily Dose of Data Science get over 40 calls in our first 10 days of sending cold email. Now, if you guys want a consistent flow of buyers on your calendar, you can book a meeting with me and my team in the description below. Okay, talk soon. I'm a big fan of cheap inboxes. Their founder, very nice guy, very chill guy to talk to, super helpful, best support in the market, that's for sure. Honestly, if there's one specific thing that I can say about cheap inboxes is they have the best support on the market. I can text their support team at 2 in the morning and ask them to upload 500 accounts to my Smart Lead, and they'll get it done in like 30 minutes. It's honestly a little ridiculous. But that's why I would put them and I use this, and that's why I'd recommend everyone use them. And by the way, for the record, I was using them before we had a partnership together. So it's not like I just partner with them and all of a sudden I promote them blindly. I don't do that. I only promote the things I use, which is why I would use cheap inboxes. Okay. Then we have Outlook. I'm going to put this in the same category as direct Google, as I have used this. Now, the reason why, or pretty much the same reason as Google, right? Outlook inboxes are $7.20 a piece. Again, it's very expensive. Also, when you're setting up Outlook inboxes, the process is a lot more complicated. For some reason, that setting up an Outlook account is like extremely difficult when it compared to Google. Like they have a completely different UI sometimes. Things load for very long times. It's honestly a very big pain. So I honestly would even say if you're going to do real infrastructure, like if you're going to do direct from ESP infrastructure, definitely go with Google. Do not go to Outlook, especially considering they're the same price. Okay. The next thing is going to be Inboxology. I'm going to put Inboxology in the category of I have used this. We've used Inboxology, absolutely no complaints. They were a good provider. Deliverability was good. Everything was good. They're a little bit more on the expensive side, but that's pretty much all real Outlook resellers. So, you can't really complain about that. Everything was good there. Nothing bad to say about them. Just great company. We just don't use them because, and also we just honestly get better results with Google to Google. So that's just what we're doing. Okay. Next is Mailreef. Now I'm going to put Mailreef in I use this because they are the only private infrastructure that we are using right now. Now, a small amount of our inboxes are with Mailreef, but we had a call with their team. Very great people. Like they actually showed up. They were punctual. Very great team. A lot of people that I know personally use Mailreef and they vouch for their legitimacy. So of course that makes me have a little bit of a bias towards them to believe that they're actually legitimate. So I honestly, Mailreef, it's a great provider. Probably hands down the easiest front end to use, right? I've never seen a software that's able to set up the amount of email accounts that Mailreef is able to set up that quickly and that efficiently. So in terms of user experience, Mailreef is like number one on this list, right? So I'm going to put them on top, though. That's one of the providers that we're using right now. Now Zoho. Zoho's going immediately to I wouldn't recommend anyone use it. For those of you guys who are unfamiliar, Zoho actually used to be the third biggest email provider. It was Google, Outlook, Zoho. Those are kind of like the three big players. Then Zoho implemented like a new policy, like it was a new terms of service thing, completely banning cold email outright. So if you're doing cold email on Zoho, you 100% speaking will be banned. It's literally in writing that they don't want you doing it. So obviously for obvious reasons, do not do it. Okay. There's no reason to do it. Next one is Superwave. These guys are going immediately to I wouldn't recommend anyone use it. For those of you who don't know what Superwave is, it's a private infrastructure provider. They were one of the first companies to do like the whole 50 accounts on one domain, like setup, or like 99 accounts on domain, whatever. But a couple months ago, about 6-7 months ago, we actually ended up buying Superwave. I believe at the time they had like a deal where you would pay for the entire year up front. It was an annual billing. And we paid $5,000 for 10 domains. You were able to set up 99 email accounts per domain. And that was effectively 990 email accounts for $5,000 a year. Now, of course, back then, We looked at numbers. We're like, okay, if this is actually legitimate, this is going to be very, very lucrative. It comes out to be very, very cheap per month. This is definitely something that we can do for our clients. Let's try it out. We ended up purchasing Superwave, and immediately the onboarding process was very terrible. Pretty much they just give you a PDF file called the manual, and they just kind of tell you to read it and figure it out. If you have any questions, their support team will literally just tell you to read the manual. So a little bit ridiculous in terms of, price for support, but that's not the worst part. What ended up happening is we had issues with their deliverability where their server was not sending our emails. Like on SmartLead, we literally had a message stating that your email provider server is refusing to send an email or something like that, on brand new email accounts, mind you. And after we brought this up to them, they completely banned us everywhere. So legitimately, they kicked us out the Slack. They banned us. These guys are just like flat out scammers. I know they've worked with some pretty big players. I don't know if I just had like bad luck or something with them, but we tried them out. We got scammed. We ended up doing a chargeback through our bank. We won the full $5,000 back, received some open threats from them, which was pretty unprofessional. And we ended up just kind of cutting our ties. If you are considering using Superwave, I'll just save you the time till you don't. Also, if you just look into their team, they're both on the internet saying very, very weird things on the internet. Like if you just look into their founders, you'll see very racist remarks from all of them. Honestly, I'm not going to go on a tangent, talk about Superwave, but very odd company. I would not recommend anybody work with them under any circumstance. No matter if they were free, I wouldn't work with them. So, stay away from Superwave. But moving on. Now let's talk about Mailscale. Now, Mailscale, I'm going to go ahead and put in the I might use this. Or honestly, I'll put them in the I have used this because I actually have used Mailscale in the past. I actually used to promote Mailscale at the time when private infrastructure was very new. I used Mailscale like a lot actually. I think it was probably like 50% of my infrastructure at one point, and everything was going good. But the one thing that was very, very, very harmful to us is they had downtime. So this was when they were like a very new company as well. This is when they were literally in their MVP stage. They had downtime as a software. So there was times where the servers would be off and we lost sending time because of that. And that reason alone made us leave them. And also we did see a lot of degrading with domains. Of course, back then, private infrastructure was very new. They were one of the first people to really make a real private infrastructure because Mailscale is one of the few companies which is a real private infrastructure. So, that's me. I might use them. I have heard that other people right now are getting results with Mailscale. I don't use them actively. And honestly, if I were to use private infrastructure, I'd probably go with Mailreef, which I did. But it is something that I have used. And if, for some reason you don't want to use Mailreef, then Mailscale would probably be my next recommendation. Okay. Now, the next thing is scaled mail. Now, I'm going to go ahead and put scaled mail in the I might use this category. Now, the reason why I do that is I actually have used scaled mail. We did try scaled mail out on 2 separate occasions. On both occasions, we didn't necessarily see the best results. The first time we used it, we tried it out. We were told that we could launch our emails without warm up and we could inbox 2 Outlook accounts from day one. We launched that campaign. We were told this directly, just straight up. We were told this, and we launched the campaign, and we did an inbox to Outlook, and then they told us we should warm up, and then not only sent to Outlook. So that was a miscommunication between us and the team. That kind of left a little bit of a sour taste in our mouth. But after we gave it another try, and it actually did do well. It actually did do well after we warmed it up and we did the full process that we were supposed to do. It ended up doing the same as all the other providers, but it's just more expensive. Right? So when I put up scaled mail against cheap inboxes or scaled mail against, for example, Mailreef, they were doing similar in terms of performance, but scaled mail costs significantly more. Okay. So honestly, I wouldn't use scaled mail just for the factor of price, just because it just doesn't make sense for us. But of course, if you're looking for like a distributed Outlook infrastructure provider, scaled mail or probably Infra Inbox would be some of the more higher end options for you. Okay. Next, let's talk about Inframail. Now, personally, I'm going to go ahead and put Inframail in the I wouldn't use it category. Now, reason why I put them here is because I haven't used them personally, but every single person that I know that does cold email that's used Infra has nothing good to say about them. Now, again, I have nothing against their team. I have nothing against their founders. I haven't met them before, but from what I've heard, everybody says that Infra doesn't work. I also have heard rumors that Infra isn't a real private infrastructure, in the sense that they don't actually have SMTP servers. They have like white labeling services. I don't know how true that is, so I'm not going to go ahead and say that's the case. But nevertheless, for the same price, you can go and use something like Mailreef or something like cheap inboxes or something like Infra Inbox. So there's really no point to go with something that's risky when you can go with something that's not risky. Okay, so that's the case. And the last one is premium inboxes. I'm going to go ahead and put premium inboxes in. I use this as well. They are our second provider to cheap inboxes. Before cheap inboxes, we were on pretty much 90% premium inboxes. Now we kind of use them at a split. We do have a lot more cheap inboxes than we have premium inboxes, just because they are a lot cheaper, if obviously just based on the name. But premium inboxes is definitely still a good solution. What I will say is recently, their support has gone downhill. Getting a response and getting help is really not what it used to be. So that's the one thing that I will say about premium boxes. Aside from the fact that their support was a little bit on the worser end towards when we started using cheap inboxes, they're still a great infrastructure provider. We still had great results with them. We still do have great results with them for the accounts that we still have. And overall, I would say that if you're on premium boxes, then you're good. So that's the ranking for the most popular infrastructures. Obviously, there are a couple of other ones. I'm not going to mention any in specific because, I don't want to, name drop anybody. There are infrastructures that are cheaper than the ones I've shown you, but I wouldn't really consider using them. The thing is in cold email that a lot of people, they try to undercut other providers. So a lot of people will find the number one provider and they'll just put a smaller price than them and they'll just try to do that as their unique selling proposition. Okay, this is something that I've learned by doing cold email. You shouldn't always be shopping based on price because there's other factors which make a big impact, which number one is support. Now, I know that I've spoken about a lot about price in this video because of course it is a big factor, but price isn't the only thing you should be looking at. Okay, for example, there are providers that are cheaper than cheap inboxes, right? But I would never go to them because I know they're not going to have the level of support that cheap inbox is going to have. Right? When we decided that we want to work with cheap inboxes, the main motivating factor wasn't the price, it was the support that we were receiving. And that's why we wanted to go with them. When we left Mscale, it wasn't that the price was too expensive. It wasn't that, the support wasn't good enough. It's that we didn't want downtime. Okay? So what I would say is, even though there are other providers, if you're going to use infrastructure, I would only use one of the ones that's either in the I use this category or in the I have used this category, because I've tested a lot of different infrastructure. I'll probably tested double what's on the screen right now. And these are the ones that, from my experience, are the ones that are reputable, aside from, of course, Superwave. Besides them, everyone else is reputable on the screen. So I hope this video helps. If you guys did enjoy, please like and subscribe. If you guys want more videos like this, comments. This is my first comparison or my first tier list video I've ever made. So if you did enjoy, like and subscribe, comment below, and until next time.